Stop calling every gas-powered hot rod a gasser. All right? The term gasser has been completely bastardized over the past couple of years, especially with the rise of anti-EV movements and nomenclatures. That doesn't make much sense. But regardless, my point still stands. The more people talk about not wanting to drive electric cars, the more the term gasser is thrown here and there. Whether you're talking about a truck that isn't a diesel or just any Yahoo with a hot rod that happens to be powered by gas. I'll be honest, I don't know what the frame looks like right now, and this whole shop might look like complete garbage, but whatever. So, the term gasser has a lot of cultural significance in terms of hot rodding, car culture, cars in general. And within the past couple of years, with so many things about electric cars taking over in this big impending doom that apparently everyone thinks is going to happen, the term gasser has been kind of adopted by anybody who drives a car that's powered by gas. Now, I'm not going to go and sit here and talk about how much I love EVs or anything, because I don't. Don't get it twisted. I mean, one look at me in the room I'm in can pretty much tell you that answer right away. But what I am here to talk about is the fact that people are using terms that don't apply to their cars or to the culture. Now, a gasser is a specific type of race car qualified by cubic inch of engine to the weight. It's a ratio. So the lighter your car, the less cubic inches you could run. The heavier your car, the bigger the engine you could run to give yourself more of an edge. It also depends on the type of fuel they use. Hence the term gasser. It has nothing to do with your 2006 Cat Eye Chevy that has a Vortec V8 in it. Now, I have quite a few magazines and books and such that give me a pretty unique opportunity to look at what these things look like, firsthand. All right, here is a good example of what a traditional gasser would be around the mid-1960s. It's 37 Chevy with a 394 Olds in it, and it's a B-gas car. So here's just some, little overview of what you typically see. First of all, what I think is just great, they flat-toed this thing, which wasn't uncommon for the time, but every time I see that, I get a kick out of it because that is just so sketchy. Something you'll never see on a gasser is an altered wheelbase. The wheelbases on these cars were almost never altered due to class rules, and that's what led to factory experimental, and then eventually led to funny cars because people were, moving these engines back, moving these wheels forward, and they're like, well, we can't run a B-gas car with a Cornet that's got a Hemi through the firewall, and, it just wasn't going to work. So I think the maximum you can move the wheels forward is like an inch or two, but, don't quote me on that. I'm not a genius. Some other little things that you'd see a lot in these cars is obviously these sketchily mounted spun aluminum tanks just right there to explode if you hit anything. The pie crust slicks are just a must. By 65, you already had slick companies, so they weren't probably not retreads or anything. They were probably Mickey Thompson's or M&H tires, something like that. But, this is just what you'd see. Now, it's a B-gas car, so it's definitely not a pig, but it's not a double-A car. It probably runs on pump gas. I don't think you could run anything but pump gas on B-gas, but don't quote me on that again. Now, this is a B-gas car, and according to the Southeast Gases Association, which their rules are based off of pre-1967 NHRA and I think AHRA rules, B-gas is 8 pounds per cubic inch. So a 3094 Olds, multiply that by 8. So this thing should weigh around 3,150 pounds. I think it's 3,152 is the exact number, but it was probably not exact, let's be honest. Another thing that I really, really dig about these gassers is the way they would modify the seating position and the position of the pedals and stuff. I mean, that gas pedal is just all the way over to the right. So I can only imagine how goofy it would be to sit inside this thing during a race. It still has 2 seats in it, which is a little strange, but, I guess if you got it, why not use it? I don't know what's going on here. What is that? It's like some sort of filter. A fuel shutoff. Yeah, they were doing some goofy stuff on these cars back in the day. But you know, if it wasn't for stuff like this, we would not have turbo LS Fox bodies or 10,000 horsepower Hemis. Another thing that a lot of people think about when they think gassers is that stance of, high up in the front, just absolutely buried in the rear. But if you look, I mean, this thing's definitely a little higher than stock by probably 3 or 4 inches, maybe. Uh, but it doesn't really have that traditional cartoonish gasser stance like something like this would have. This is a Hot Wheels I put together, and it's got the typical reverse rake. But not every gasser had that, It just all depended on what chassis you had, where the engine was set in the chassis. It says here this engine is 24 inches off the ground from the center of the crank. So that's pretty good considering, how low these engines can sit. But yeah, these cars are not as cut and dry as what you'd see today. There's a lot of people that think gassers were just Tri-5 Chevys or Anglias or 41 Willys. But they're a lot goofier. There's a lot more variety than you'd initially think by today's standards. Yeah, anyway, that's all I wanted to rant about today. Just a random video, my first attempt at doing something like this where I'm just talking about a topic. It's not me ripping the go-kart or filming an event. I saw this article because I was looking for stuff about gassers. I've been thinking about how people are not using the term gasser correctly. If you guys want to see more stuff about old literature, if you could call it that, I've definitely got tons and tons of garbage in this dining room. But that's about it. Hope you guys enjoyed. Feel free to clown on me. Tell me what I did wrong. Tell me what you liked, what you didn't like. I'm just spitballing here, trying to see what sticks. And if nothing sticks, I don't really care because I'm going to keep making stuff anyway. That's about it. Super short, super simple, kind of just an overview of one article and a little rant. I'll see you later.